We are going to be teaching you how to change your story, change your life. This is quite a lesson, I'll tell you that. Because it's going to help you to go from being a victim in your own life. If you've ever had a victim mentality, I bet we have. We've all had moments like that. To go from having a victim mentality into having a warrior mentality, okay? Turning your trials into strengths, turning your weakness into strengths. And in fact, I saw somebody else post earlier in the group. They said, previously I had thought, from instead of being a victim to being a survivor. And I get that, but it doesn't have the strength like the word warrior does it? Survivor is almost like, well, things happened to me and I survived them. It still puts you in, you're losing your power. We need you to take your power back. So if we even use the words victim or survivor, we are still putting that event as the focal point and this thing that we happen to survive, right? Or this thing we went through. But you put this word warrior in your life and all of a sudden you just feel differently about it, right? Here's what I need to do though. I need us to go back in time just a little bit. Remember we talked about the Bring the Mothers Home movement, and I felt like the next step of the Bring the Mothers Home movement was this image of mountains, lakes, and evergreens. Me homeschooling my kids in the mountains next to evergreens, next to a lake. And I just knew like that was the next step, but I didn't know what the heck that meant other than, well, the joy in that image, the joy in this picture that was in my head was an active joy. It was the one who, was the joy that was running marathons. And this image in my head, though, was not a memory. It was not from the 5 years ago that I used to be running marathons. It was very much a parallel life, yes? And that if I wanted to, I could step into that life. Not immediately, of course, because I knew there was a journey to go on. Obviously, there was a journey that I would have to take, a health journey. I was 60 pounds overweight, and I needed to go on that health journey to become, again, the joy in this image. And I knew it would be a lot of hard work, but I decided that night to step into that. And so there I went, February 2021, on this journey that I had no clue what it was going to lead to, other than I just knew that the first step that I needed to take was to be actually homeschooling my kiddos, right? Or sorry, actually starting on that health journey. That was the first step I needed to take. Now, I have been running, obviously, a very large business here. We have a huge team. And at that time, in February, we were coming into our very big launch that was in April. You guys know we only open the doors 2 times a year, April and October. We're coming into October. And I was working 24/7 pretty much, Have you guys heard the quote that you will work 80 hours a week on your own business just so that you don't have to work 40 hours a week for someone else's? Have you guys ever heard that quote? Or you've heard the quote, you'll work 24/7 just so for your own self, just so that you don't have to work 40 hours a week for someone else. Well, that's like literally my core. Meaning I don't want to have a job with somebody else. And I've been an entrepreneur since 2000, I think, like ever since I entered college and things like that. So 21 years, like it's been a long time. And since then I've only had one job, and that was because it was with my mentor. So I was like, I'm going to do that. But anyways, but that was February. So there I went on that health journey, and I started, and things were going great and things, and we went through the launch. It went great. Fast forward to May, as you know, and by May I had basically hit halfway through my health journey. Okay. So halfway there, and I had kind of hit this point where, okay, now what, right? Now it's the next stage, right? Is kind of in my head, but we were, trying to figure out, okay, well, that was the health journey and I'm still doing that, but like, what is the other components of this image that I had in my head? Well, it was this mountains, lakes, and evergreens. And obviously I'm not going to go into the details, but we went on a journey to go try to find a place that met those requirements. We found such a location, and we got a lot of more information at that point that suggested this was not just me homeschooling my kids in the mountains, but perhaps that I was supposed to be holding retreats in the mountains for women and mothers to help them gain confidence and courage to serve their friends or their families and their communities. And I'm like, and this property was 8 acres, and we don't want land, but like, here you go. And we just felt really inspired that was our next step. And we're like, oh my gosh, if this is supposed to happen, we're going to do all we can on our part to make it happen. But like, let's keep walking this path, right? So we put the offer in, we accepted the counter, and then we're under contract. And that's when things started, unraveling a little bit. We found out really quickly that the home that was 1932 had a lot more of damage than expected. It wasn't just going to take maybe $10,000 of renovation work, but to date, I think we're probably at about $160,000 of renovation work, and it's just continuing to grow. And it won't just take, a week or two to fix it, but, months and months and months to fix it. And that the land, that was at one point so well taken care of, completely got ruined after the owners stopped taking care of it, after we signed the contract with that counteroffer. And so, tens upon thousands will have to happen next summer to fix that land. But anyways, things started unraveling a bit. We got to closing. It was a nightmare of a closing with a lot of heavy emotions from the owners. And just a really, really bad experience, quite honestly. And it really took us back. And by the way, I want you to understand that the way that I'm speaking this way because I'm trying to illustrate some moments that happened in my life that I fell into the victim mentality. I fell into this why me concept. And I'm speaking it this way because I need you to kind of understand that depending on the way that the circumstances go, the way that the story plays out, you have two ways to respond to anything. And I don't care what the scenario is, you have two ways. It's either as a victim or as a warrior. It's either you are the victim in your story or the heroine. It's either happening to you or it's happening for you. Okay? It's either you're focusing on the things you can't control or the things you can control. You're focusing on the negative or you're focusing on the good and the blessings. Okay? So I'm showing you the opposite at this moment because I need you to understand where I came from and also what kind of drove me to pretty much having a breakdown. For the past 2.5 months, I've pretty much been crying every day for 2.5 months from all sorts of things happening, from finances just being overtaken by this house, from the land getting destroyed, from not knowing how to do these retreats, and even if I want to do the retreats and what that would include, and all because I'm very much a how person, the logistics of having women come to your home. We're going to be living in this home, and having the logistics of keeping them happy and healthy and safe, and being overwhelmed with that, being overwhelmed with this homeschooling concept. I work 24/7 and all of a sudden I'll be doing a giant shift into now, because my kids are all older and stuff, but now doing a giant shift into becoming a full homeschooling mom, and where my business is supposed to be automated so that so I have all the time, and thank heavens our business was automated at that time. But and I still had this half of the other health journey to go through. And here's the kicker, okay? I want you to understand this whole concept. The whole reason why I was focusing on all the negatives, all the things I couldn't control, all the things that, were happening to me, whatever, was because I was sitting on the fence and not stepping into my new identity. I can see it full-heartedly right now. This is exactly why it was. I was trying to run away from the eventuality that I had put into motion. Gosh dang it, in February, I had put all these things into motion. This health journey. In May, I had put this house into the motion. In August, I had put retreats into motion. I had put all these things into motion. And yet I was standing on the conveyor belt, as you would call it, trying to run the other way, right? As it's trying to keep me going this way. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go that way. I don't know that I want this, right? One foot in, one foot out, sitting on the fence, just completely not embracing what needed to happen. Stuck. Do you guys ever feel stuck? It has to come down to what you focus on. So was I focusing on all the negative and playing the victim role? And saying, oh my gosh, that moment of closing when we should have felt a certain way, because at that moment, we were, in my opinion, we were we had worked so hard to get this and come to closing with the cash, and we'd worked our butts off, and we were doing everything we could because we thought we were doing what God wanted us to do. And we get to closing, we have all this nightmare stuff happen. And in my head, I was playing the victim role of shouldn't it feel a different way? if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, shouldn't it feel a different way? Shouldn't I feel like amazing? Shouldn't I feel like on top of the world? Like, wow, we're on the right track, when it felt completely opposite. Okay? Does that mean I was on the wrong track? No, it means I was focusing on the wrong stuff. When I was focusing on not wanting to do retreats or not wanting to homeschool or not wanting to, continue my health journey, it's because I was focusing on the wrong stuff. Let me replay that entire since February with focusing instead of a victim mentality on instead the warrior mentality. So from February to May, I did really well. I was the warrior in this story. I was very much like, wow, let's go. Everything is happening for me. And my all-stars can attest, like I would say thing after thing after thing. It was such a blessing. It's such a miracle that this and this and this and this happened. Oh my gosh, we get to Mother's Day. Wow, such a miracle still. We're under contract. And then, because the trials started coming at that point, because it got even more difficult, that's when I started feeling the shift, okay? And from that point on, it was very hard for me to get to lock into anything other than, woe is me, why me, blah, blah, blah. Have you guys done that before? Do you guys resonate with this? That you have felt that even though things are tough, you can keep that strong mental attitude for some time, yes? But then something's going to knock you down, and it's really hard to come back with a strong mental attitude. And we get stuck in those pits sometimes, yes? That's how I felt. So I've been there, you've been there, we've all been there. The word is focus. The word of the day, the word of the year, the word that I will continually, literally, blazon on my forehead, focus. And in the past, I always thought of that word focus as, keep your eye on the goal, because I'm very goal-oriented, right? Like, eyes on the prize, focus on the prize, focus on whatever you want, Joy, and go get it, right? That's how I've always thought of that word. But now, having looked back on this whole thing, what you focus on expands. The more you focus on something, the more it will be in your life, because you will perceive it to be more in your life. I'm going to give you, I think I did this before. Did I do this with my daughter or with you guys? I don't even know. I'm just going to do it super fast. The idea is this, is like look around the room and find all the things that are red around your room. I think I probably did this with you. I don't know. Anyways, okay, look around the room, got all the things that are red? Okay, cool. Now tell me all the things that are yellow. You probably didn't notice many, right? Okay, now look around your room, find all the things that are yellow. Did you see more? Now that you're actually looking for them, whatever you want to find, you will find. You want to find the negative in life? You're going to find it, friend. You want to find all the reasons why you can't be successful at something? You're going to find them. You have to focus on the things that you want more of. But more importantly, and it's focusing on the blessings. Focus on the miracles that are happening in your life, that are happening for you right now, and your entire life will change. 100%. Like, I am in a completely different place than I have been since the middle of June, and especially since the 1st of July. I'm in a completely different place because I'm focusing now on the blessings. So let me rework this story. Okay, change your story, change your life. If I didn't change my story about what happened for all those months, guess where I'd still be? I'd still be stuck in the bottom of the pits, okay? Like trying to run away from my eventuality that was going to happen, like it or not. Eventually we're going to move. And how am I going to be up there? Am I going to still be like, woe is me, this sucks? Let me rewrite my story. At any moment in your life, you have the power to take back your power. The people who went to my virtual retreat, we did a 3-week virtual retreat doing the curriculum that I literally will teach at my in-person retreat. It was beautiful. It's all about taking back your power, okay? When you're a victim, you are powerless. That person that hurt you, the person that wronged you, the situation that happened has all the power, and you are just the thing that happened to it, okay? We have to take back our power. So I'm going to rewrite our story. I'm going to rewrite my story based on the exact same things that happened. These things still happened, but I didn't focus on them. So let me rewrite my story. We accept the counter on Mother's Day, okay? And even though, and we can say, and even though, right? And even though we struggled to get a second mortgage on the home, and even though we struggled to get enough cash to bring to closing, we still showed up with that check at closing. We still got the second mortgage. We still closed on closing day. We still had keys on closing day. In an instant, I can reframe that entire thing. Even though, ... and then you focus on the blessing. So maybe perhaps me focusing on, well, aren't I supposed to feel a certain way? Well, why didn't I feel that way? We closed. We own this property now. This beautiful, gorgeous property up in North Idaho, sitting at the base of a mountain, overlooking this beautiful lake. Our property is also on the lake. We have a boat dock. We have gorgeous sunsets every night. Why? Because I was focused on the wrong things. You get this? Hashtag getting this. We get to closing. We close. We have the house. We have the property. What a blessing it is that I have. So even though the house is in way worse condition than we ever assumed it would be, even though we had to strip the entire house down to the studs, even though we had to replace every system in the house, plumbing, electrical, roof, everything, even though we had to do all of that we never had expected to do before, what a blessing that my brother-in-law knows how to do it all. And that I could trust my brother-in-law, who was doing all the renovation, to do that and not have to worry about 10 contractors and managing all that in a property states away from me. What a blessing that was. What a blessing that I could trust his work, that I could trust that the work and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're pouring into the renovation, what a blessing that I could trust his work and his word and him to get us to the finish line. What a blessing that we'll have almost like literally a brand new house to move into, with the exception of a foundation that's 1932. Other than that, it's literally brand new. What a blessing. What a blessing that we can live in such a gorgeous property and have land to help these women when they come on this land and need to feel this peace and this get away from the world. What a blessing that will be coming up. What a blessing it is that even though our house isn't finished yet and we had to stay an even more 2 weeks here in Arizona than we expected, that pushes our date even further away, what a blessing it is that I don't have to move during the launch. What a blessing that is. And even though I have struggled to step into the homeschool mom mentality, what a blessing it is that I was even given that inkling of an idea back in February to prepare me for now. That I've had months to ponder it. That I have children to homeschool. What a blessing that is. What a blessing it is that I even have the business that allows me to homeschool. What a blessing it will be for my children to pour into them so much time and energy. What a blessing that will be, and how much happiness that will be. So do you see? It's all based on what you focus on. If you find the negative, friends, you will find it. If you find the places that people have failed you, you will find it. If you find all the places you've been wronged, all the places you've been hurt, you will find it. And if you're not careful, you're going to live it. You're going to live there. You don't even have to be currently living in a scenario like that. Your mind is so powerful, it can make up its own reality, can't it? When in the midst of all of these blessings, I was putting myself into my own personal hell. I chose that. But I also had the power to get myself out. But it takes effort. And I think had I not gone through this, I wouldn't have had such clarity around this idea of the focus, the word, the focus. This is my gift to you. If you are in these moments, if you've had these experiences where based on something that happened in your past, I need you to rewrite that story. I mean, how long could I have continued this story? Oh, flip, I could have continued it forever. I could have continued living in this personal hell of, woe is me, that it seems silly now from an outside, because I feel like an outsider's perspective almost. It seems silly from an outsider's perspective looking at this and saying, Joy, I want to slap you, like, wake the freak up. Like, are you kidding? Look at all you've been given. Look at all the blessings. But I couldn't see it. So I'm not faulting you one bit if you've been going through that. I'm just asking you to wake up, okay? Change your story, you change your life. But it all starts with being aware of your blessings, focusing on the blessings. And that will just make you so happy as it has mine.